Hello, is this on? Welcome. It's another Wednesday afternoon, which means you've got some time with me, Neil Millard, the DevOps expert and confident contractor. And today we are going to be talking about the very exciting world of nomad lifestyle. Just imagine lying on a beach or sitting on a beach because you've got your laptop with you. And not any old beach. You can go from one beach to the next beach. Perhaps you don't like beaches at all. Perhaps you're more like me. I like to be near the sea because it's nice, it's sea. But I like to be away from the sand. Don't like the sand and things. So I'm sitting in a cafe in the warm weather, working. It's an interesting idea, isn't it? And well, there's a few people that I know that are doing the nomad lifestyle. And there's good bits, as always. And there's also some things you need to watch out for. So let's stick me up in the corner. And we will talk about some of the benefits, right? So there's a certain flexibility of being able to work anywhere with an internet connection. Now, sometimes the nature of your work means you don't necessarily need an internet connection. If I can say that. You don't always need an internet connection. That's surprisingly hard to say today. But you will have to have one at some point. Just check your emails and interact with other people, right? So as long as you've got one of those, we can work from anywhere. And be that the UK or heck, even a different country. And we've got the flexibility that as long as the work gets done, then it doesn't matter what time it's done. And location and time are both important because of time zones and different countries being in different locations. So you can have the ultimate work-life balance there, where you're fitting in your life activities, sunbathing, surfing, scuba diving, whatever you want. And then the working, getting the stuff done that needs to be done in time for those deadlines. And then there's the travel opportunities. Because you're not stuck to any one location, you can travel between locations. Use a couple of days over the weekend to cross that border. Go from France to Spain, from Spain to Morocco, from Morocco to who knows where next. And you can still maintain your career whilst doing that. I mean, obviously there's the other way of doing it, which is the backpacker route, where you've quite literally got a backpack and you camp up anywhere you want and you just grab work as you can, be it working in fields or crops or bars or whatever. But as an IT nomad, we just need that internet connection. Of course, there's cost savings to be had. If you work and live in the UK, then you'll know it's not a particularly cheap place to live. Maybe you don't know any better, but take it from me, it's not the most expensive place. I think in Europe we got Switzerland to thank for that one. But in the rest of Europe there are cheaper places to live. And so potentially lower costs means your money can go further. Maybe your money can go into other things that you want to spend that on, be it charities or back home to your parents or helping somebody else out. But with those reduced costs, it gives you more flexibility. And also, let's not mention the diverse work environments that I've already said, be it a beach, a bar, a hotel room, or anywhere else you want to work. And that's not even covering the other things, like the cultures and the food, and the different ideas you might get by what you can see and hear and taste. It also gives you a better flavour of adaptability and how other things and how other people do things. But there are some bad things. There are some challenges to being an IT nomad. Now, what I mentioned earlier is that internet connectivity. If you can't get connected to the internet when you need to, then that can really, bring a drag down on your day. If somebody's expecting that online face-to-face meeting, on Teams, hope not, or on Slack, or Google Meet, or one of the other screen sharing and face sharing software that's available. If you haven't got that connectivity, or worse, you've got that connectivity, but it's a little bit ropey, then that can just add more stress to otherwise beautiful experience you're having. And I mentioned this before as well, time zones. When meeting with other people, then it's important to be on the right page as far as what time you're actually meeting. I know I've done this a couple of times. I've been on holiday and I've been away for the week, working in a different country, trying to arrange a meeting for the following week. And I'll get the diary entry wrong because I put it in the wrong time zone. And so you have to get used to translating what those time zones are. Are you in South Africa? Are you in Europe? Are you in the UK? And whatever other time zones you might be in. Knowing how far apart they are, having that meeting with a customer in San Francisco when they're 8 hours different from where you are can be challenging. And of course, I'd be negligent if I didn't mention distractions. Some work environments are very distracting. I don't know about you, but I've been into the office sometimes, and it's so noisy in an open plan office. I find that very distracting, and that's supposed to be a work environment. Another distraction might be you're in a cafe and you've got a very attentive waiter trying to give you drinks all the time. Or somebody else walks in and they catch your eye for some reason. Maybe they've got a nice hat. But working in non-traditional environments can present a number of distractions that can impact your concentration and your productivity. Of course, the other thing to mention is the isolation. Now, we might be kind of used to getting over this issue now because of lockdown, because of working from home, and being good at reaching over the digital channels in order to talk to other people. But if you don't know anybody, if you're in a foreign place and there's nobody you know around you, and you have to have that human contact, then this could be challenging for you. You might feel isolated. And then there's a very sticky subject of taxes. Because you're working in another country, you might need to have some legal paperwork to prove you're allowed to work in that country. Furthermore, if you are working in a foreign country, then they might feel it's fair that they take some of the income that you've earned whilst sitting in their country, and not by just spending it in a local economy on teas and coffees, but also by taxing you as well. And those rules can be very complicated, mostly to mention that if you're working in one country, they might want to tax you, but because your limited company is in another country, then that other country might want to tax you as well. And then it can get even more complicated if there's a third country in the mix. If you've moved, that particular week, then you might have two countries vying for your tax as well as your home country. So there's something to watch out for. Laptop reliability. I know, I'm sure you can join me in sharing the image of somebody sitting on a beach bar with their laptop. It's really bright out there. If you've got to have that screen really bright, it's going to drain through your battery really quickly. There's going to be sand getting into the fans and things. And so there you are, the fans don't work, your laptop's overheating because it's in the sun, and it's run out of battery. Can be a challenging environment to work in like that. So make sure your reliable laptop is tested, or at least get a ruggedized one. There are ways around these problems after all. And that connectivity issue, it's essential you have a secure internet connection. Now you might be able to bump through someone's Wi-Fi, but how secure is it? Are they actually snooping on you? Do you need a VPN? Maybe you want a more direct approach. Maybe you want to go for a satellite internet connection. But even though you still need that internet connection, it needs to be reliable, it needs to be secure. But once you've got that in place, that makes all of this easier. Some other things that might make it easier is the collaboration software. Now, I personally use Slack quite a lot. I also use quite a lot of the Google Suite. And I use those so that I can stay in communication with my team. And we know what we're all doing. We're coordinating our actions. And that we're also catching up on what happens next and what happened yesterday and how can we be better and improve, as well as throwing those ideas around. Another tool for collaboration, and you might already have some of these because of working from home, something like Asana or Jira, in order to coordinate what tasks you have to do next. And then because you're moving from place to place, and because maybe your laptop's not quite as reliable as it could be, you want to make sure that you've got all of your data backed up somewhere else, in a cloud storage, S3 buckets or something like that. Have that backup, maybe even live running, but you need the internet connection, the reliable laptop and equipment, and it all needs to come together. So how can you achieve this? Well, one of my top tips is to establish a routine. Just because you're somewhere different doesn't mean you shouldn't have a routine. Help define the difference between work and play. I'm going to have some food at this point, and then I've got some scheduled time in order to focus, and then a little break. It's important to have breaks to keep the axe sharp. But if it's all planned out, then you know where you are, and you can truly switch off and relax in your environment when you're not focused on work. And communication is key. I know it's quite annoying when you want to speak to somebody you don't know where they are. So make sure that your colleagues that you're working with know the best way to contact you and what times you're going to be contactable. That way everyone knows where you are and how you can get contacted. It just removes the doubt and fear that other people might have about where you are and how productivity is doing on your side of the fence. And you want to keep those lines of communication open for your team members and for your customers. And I mentioned this already, along with the setting up of the timetable, is to have those boundaries between work and life. Again, if you're working from home, you might already have some of this practice. You know when you're working, you know when you're not working. And if you blur the lines, it can cause difficulty. It can cause difficulty in your mental state, understanding whether you're working or not. And it can cause confusion with whoever you're with, whether you're working or not. So make sure you have some clear ideas about how to tell yourself whether you're in work mode or life mode. And of course, all of these are subject to change. If you move to a different location, you might not be able to get lunch at the same time as your prescribed diary says. You might have to shift things around a bit. And if you do shift things around a bit, communicate with your customers and your team so that they know that things have shifted about a bit. And keep everyone updated and adapt to the changing environment. And of course, every day is a school day. Let's not take any chance to not learn. There's always something changing. There's industry trends that are moving. These skills need developing and you need to stay competitive. And having those higher skills, the ones that are more in demand, mean that you'll be able to sell yourself better even if you are remote. And so that's tips for the IT nomad lifestyle. Are you ready to become a contractor? Let me guide you through all of these traps and tunnels that are there. It's a lot less painful that way. But let's join together and see where you are and how ready you are. We've got a quiz set up. You can visit this website and you'll go through some questions and answers, and it'll just give us an idea of where you are and how ready you are. And once you've done that quiz, you can book a call with me and we'll discuss in more detail about how we can work together. Any questions, as normal, put them in the comments below and we'll get back to them as soon as possible. And thanks for joining me today. See you soon.